want to start by welcoming you to Hayden's celebration of life. Whether you are here as someone that knew and loved Hayden, or you are here in support of those of us that did, I want to thank you for being here. For those of you that do not already know who I am Hayden's big sister, Cassandra, and I will be opening this hour of sharing tonight. Hayden as a person was humble, direct, and got straight to the heart of things. He was a minimalist. When thinking about tonight, we wanted it to be a reflection of Hayden's character. We knew that it would not be something traditional with frills and flowers and sermons. We knew that it had to be simple, intentional, and meaningful. So tonight, our goal is simple. It is to gather together to celebrate and remember the beautiful life that Hayden lived. Our format tonight is going to be fairly organic. This will be an open mic, and once I am finished speaking, anyone that has a thought or a memory that they wish to share about Hayden is welcome to come up one at a time, introduce themselves, and do so. When we reach the end of the hour, my brother Donovan will be coming up to close out the evening. When I was working alongside my mother, preparing for tonight's event, combing through 22 years of photos, there was a certain anxiety that set in. How do you ever find enough photographs to represent all that a person is? What do you highlight? When writing his obituary or planning what to say tonight, how could we ever portray who he was in a way that even comes close? The answer to that is simple. You can't. My hope is that this truth frees us a little bit, that it allows us to embrace the imperfection of it all and experience the gift that our time together is. I thought that maybe I could start by sharing a memory that encapsulates how I knew him. And as I scanned through my memories, looking for those golden glowing threads to pop out at me, what I saw instead was a mosaic of the tiniest moments. What I see is glimpses of his signature crooked Hayden smirk and the way that his eyes crinkled just a little bit when he did it. I hear the sound of his Rubik's Cubes clicking away in the next room at midnight. I see a montage of when we were kids, and I would force Hayden to let me choreograph dance routines that we would then perform for the whole family. Or when we would spend hours outside in the winter building snow forts. I can smell the baby lotion from when I would tuck little Hayden in after his baths, and I would sing him to sleep. And just as I thought it was safe to get up and leave, he would reach out for my arm and say, "Don't go." I think of a million, billion tiny, minute mannerisms and idiosyncrasies. If I'm honest, my absolute favorite memories with Hayden are the late night grocery store runs for kombucha and Oreos. That's where all of the inside jokes, the deep talks, and the car dance parties happen. I don't mean to turn to a cliche, but truthfully, it is the ordinary, every moments of coexistence with Hayden that I will miss the most.
Sorry, I didn't bring my glasses, so hope I can read this okay, because I feel like my brain has 100 tabs open this last few weeks, so. Do you know what the difference between a good person and a nice person is? A nice person is a people pleaser. A nice person will make choices in the interest of making everybody happy. He'll make worse choices to be popular. A good person doesn't care about being popular. They'll do what they believe to be right because they care about what is good for everybody and not whether they're liked or not. That was Hayden. He was good at almost everything he attempted, but he would rarely admit it. He was his harshest critic, never realizing just how incredible he was. Even the process of picking out and buying a new wallet was the most detailed excursion for Hayden. You'd look at all the material used, the manufacturing company, what impact it had on the environment, the longevity of the material. It was so beautiful and intentional. Everything he did. Hayden held integrity as one of his highest value, which is a guiding star for a lot of the things he did in his life. These past few years, I've had the incredible and rare opportunity given by God to have and create a transformative relationship with Hayden. It's something that I know now is a huge blessing. We went from being mother and son, those transactional things of did you wash the dishes, did you get that, thing done, to having a deep soulful connection. Our talks were rarely transactional. They were always so deep, philosophical and spiritual. Hayden was not one for small talk if you knew him. He actually detested small talk. He absolutely detested it. He urged everyone he came in contact with to dig deeper, to be authentic in their interactions. Quality time was his number one love language. I'll miss those talks. Our tennis matches, middle of the night ping pong games in the house. Even as an adult, we'd break things. It was so fun. Hiking, because he always took us out in the woods. And of course, disc golfing, because if you loved Hayden, you would learn to love disc golf. It was just like a prerequisite. You didn't have a choice. Trust me, everyone who loved Hayden loved disc golf. We had to. He challenged me and others closest to him to become their most authentic and honest version of ourselves. And he still continues to do that now as I dig into and read some of his beautiful essays that he wrote in college. And I revisit some of the most favorite books that we both read, complete with his little anecdotal notes on all his beautifully written Post-its. They're so beautiful. Reading them now, they're like little messages and gifts from Hayden from the past. The last time I saw Hayden, he stopped me and he grabbed my face and he told me just to pause. And this is just a few months ago. He said, I want to truly look at you, Mom, and I want to remember every line, your gray hairs, your eyes. I want to truly see you. He said, you're so beautiful. I mean, what 22-year-old kid does that? Like, who does that? Hayden does. That's who he was. I don't know how I can most eloquently share just a few moments who Hayden was to me, but I just want to leave you with two things to ponder in honor of Hayden. And I was thinking about this, there's so many. The first is, even if you didn't know Hayden personally, you can see just by looking at the pictures and reading a little bit about him in his obituary that he was the real deal. He embraced his true self, his quirks and all. And he encouraged other people to do the same. And I know we live in a society that sometimes pushes us to conform. So for Hayden's legacy, I would really like to invite everyone to celebrate your individuality and embrace who you are authentically, and just stay curious about your true self and constantly question whether you're showing the world what you're showing the world, and whether it reflects your most genuine and authentic version of who you are and who you aspire to become. And the second thing, as I talked to so many of you tonight, Hayden had a special way of forging connections that went beyond the surface. Even if you only knew him in passing, you could feel the depth of his openness. In a time where it's so easy to keep our distance from other people, I just feel we all feel like strangers. Hayden's legacy encourages us to break down barriers and build connections with those around us, fostering that sense of connection and understanding, because we are truly more alike than we are different, even if we don't realize it at first. we're all on this incredible journey called life, and we have this question in the Quran, and it beautifully asks, so where are you going? And it's not just a question for some, but it's a down-to-earth reminder for everyone, encouraging each of us to reflect on our path and find your purpose in the present, and know that we're on a journey back to our Lord. I was there for Hayden's very first breath, and his dad and I were holding him for his very last breath. It's the hardest thing as a mother and father to see that, but in those final moments, he resembled that beautiful newborn that I saw for the first time at 1:46 p.m. on July 10th, 2001. He really did. And I mean it when I say this, Hayden was the most beautiful newborn. I have 3 kids, I love you guys. Hayden he took the cake. He was the most beautiful newborn, he was. He came out perfect, he was literally perfect. So, as you glance around at the people who mean the world to you, when you leave here tonight, when you go back to your lives, don't let a single moment slip away unnoticed. Love deeply. Learn not to only give generously, but learn the art of receiving generously. It's so important. Hayden didn't know how to receive. It's really important. Stay open-hearted. Learn to forgive, because it's a gift you give yourself as much as you give other people, and make every second count, because life is fleeting, but the impact of those genuine connections and shared moments can last a lifetime and beyond. Thank you, guys.
I'm not as prepared as my sister and my niece. I didn't write anything maybe because I am simple as well. And maybe that's just I wanted to speak from my heart. But for those who don't know me, I'm Lisa, and I was Hayden's aunt. I'm Victoria's sister. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for all of you guys being here. It's like Sam said, you didn't know him, and you're just here supporting those who did love him. And just feeling the love that everybody's got here in this room today. It really, really does mean the world to us. I think about that I was kind of like the distant aunt. I lived sometimes I hope that I didn't get to raise or be around my niece and my nephews growing up because I left at when they were such a young age. But I was like the aunt that came from Arizona or from California, and they came to visit. And, we had those good vacation times together. I remember coming to visit and us going sledding and going to Buck Hill. And I can remember his first trip to Arizona, and he fell in love with rocks. He was amazed. He loved rocks, and when he came to Arizona and just saw,
we took back like 10 pounds in our suitcase.
I mean, that yards, that there was no grass and there was just rocks everywhere. It was like, no, you can only take a couple with you. And he was just fascinated by it. And he's even, all the way through into his adult years, he was still always fascinated with the landscape of just the desert and everything. And it means so much to me that I have a little piece of some of these photos, because I was actually with him when his senior photos were taken. We took a hike and we went to Sedona, and it was one of the most beautiful places for him. And I remember my sister scared because he was getting really close to the ledge as we were climbing up the mountain. And I was like, he's fine. She's like, no, he's still my baby. She got mad at me because I was like, he's fine. And I remember him changing clothes
In the bush.
because, you know, she didn't want him to wear his nice clothes, to the top of the, where we went to Devil's Bridge to get some of these photos, and it's a very iconic, scene if you guys know where that is in Arizona, in Sedona, but it means so much to me. Thinking back now, I didn't think about it then, but I'm so grateful that I had that. And so I just think about all these times that I got to be with him when I got to come visit, and it wasn't as often as I would like. And I think that that's something that I take for granted when I live in another state and you're not with your family all the time. Because I don't live with my sister. But I tell you, we don't go more than a week without talking to each other. I mean, I know everything that's going on in all of your lives because it's just so important to stay close to family. And even though I didn't talk to Hayden every single day, I knew everything that was going on in his life. And in these last 5 years since he graduated high school, I got some really, really great memories with him, but just him, because in all the other years it was all the kids were together. It was, and I've cherished that, but I really didn't get a lot of that one-on-one time with Hayden, and I did these last, you know, when he came out for his senior photos, and then when we took a trip to Duluth, and we went up there, and I went disc golfing. And I sucked. I was no good at it. Just watching him, and I called it a frisbee, and he was like, "Do not call it a frisbee." But he was just like, you know, the way he threw these things, I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. I was mesmerized by it. I mean, and just like my sister said, anything he touched, he's just amazing at. He was really into his Rubik's Cubes. I have memories of going to his baseball games. I remember Caleb being with me, and we would go and play in the field while he was at the baseball game, and you know, I just have so many fond memories, and like, it's so hard to wrap it all up, but it just, I want to just say that I'm so grateful that I just got to spend this past summer with him, not knowing that that was the last time I was going to see him. I'm so grateful for that. Getting to take my first alcoholic drink with him. That my sister didn't approve of. But yeah, we found out that, you know, he liked alcohol. I don't even know if you knew that. But I don't know, I just think that sometimes we don't think about those things, that's going to be the last time you might see somebody, and I'm just so grateful for that. I'm going to miss him so much. I really am. He was one of a kind, and that's all I got to say. So, thank you.
I wasn't planning, actually. I didn't have anything planned. I didn't know what to say. Can't look at you. Victoria and I met when Hayden and my son Elijah were 3 years old and in preschool. We became instant best friends, and they did too. And he was like another son to me as well. But I guess the one thing I would want to say is about his character. I've always said our boys were so similar, because Hayden had just the purest of hearts. He wouldn't, he didn't want to see ill will on anyone. And just everything about him was just this so real and so pure, and he was so full of love. He was incredibly intelligent. And yes, everything he did, he was just so good at, but he did it with everything he was. He put himself, if he loved something, he put his whole self into it. I feel like And most of the time Hayden was there too. And it's so true. He loved these deep intellectual talks about everything. And he had the best, driest, darkest sense of humor, which I loved. Because this boy was just, again, just so pure and so loving, and all of a sudden he'd have some joke. It's been incredible watching him grow from a toddler to a boy, to a teenager, and to a man. But yeah, the memories, there's just too many to share. But I guess I will have to say, disc golf.
After we survive COVID, who takes out?
So yeah, Victoria and Hayden and Eli and myself, a few times we went out to it. I was so stinking awful. I'll take you on, Lisa. We'll both be like not sure where the discs are. And he was so incredibly patient and supportive, and I don't know, he was such a great little teacher trying. Like the Rubik's Cube, he got Eli into, and they had fun, learning all the algorithms, and they made it sound so easy. I actually loved, like, Eli kept trying over and over and over to teach me, and I'm just like, oh. But yes, even after Victoria would go back to England, there was a couple times that he just would call me up. He just wanted, he had a day off, wanted to come up and visit, and we just got to hang out, the two of us, for a day or two. Yeah, I don't know, I guess that's all I've got, but he was such an incredible human being. Every single person who met him loved him. And like my sister said, I only met him like twice, but within the first 10 minutes, I just knew he was something special. And yes, he was. So rest in peace, Hayden. We love you so much. Never, never stop.
Saying I was neighbors with Hayden for 5 to 6 years. I prepared a speech, but it's never going to be enough. I honestly don't know where to start, but here goes. I remember the first time I met Hayden. It was a few nights before we officially moved to Burnsville, but after we got the keys to our new home. I remember it was late, but Hayden and his parents came to greet us for the first time. We lived in a duplex, and so his family lived on that other half, and ours the other side. There's nothing more exciting as a kid than moving into a neighborhood where the neighborhood kids are somehow within your age group. It wasn't until a few months later when my siblings and I had our first real interaction with Hayden. That's when I really got to know the kind of person he was. He was practicing for one of the 1,000,001 different sports he participated in. And if you knew him, he did pretty much everything. If you really knew him, he was good at everything, and I used to think it was the coolest thing ever. But he invited my brothers and I to go play with him, and it was football. I remember it was cold, so I was like, nah, adios, I don't want to play. But my sister kept insisting we play with them, and boom, that was the start of an immediate friendship. My brothers and I still say down say hut as a joke. I still don't know what it means because I know absolutely nothing about football. Hayden told us it's apparently what they say at the start, but I was always learning new things from him. Whether it was sports, a random new science fact, or just how to be a good person in general. There were 2 instances where I immediately knew he'd always have my back forever. The first being how I had no one to sit with while watching a movie in class, since we were still sort of new to the school. And even though half the class were pretty much begging to sit with him to sit with them, out of his kindness, he said he chose to sit with me. The movie was good, and it was even better with this funny commentary. The second time was when we got into our first small feud as little kids. I don't remember what we were even arguing about, but it led to like a mini fight. And if you went to our school, you know how some of the teachers were like very biased with certain students, but there was this one teacher that looked for any excuse to get me into trouble. She blamed the entire fight on me without questions and was sending us both to the office. I literally remember her telling Hayden, she was whispering to him, she was like, she was telling him, you did nothing wrong. If you go to the office, don't say you started anything because it's all Hussein's fault. Whew. And then, to my shock, Hayden was the only one vouching for me. Everyone else was dead silent when the teacher asked for witnesses. Even when we're in the principal's office, he kept on telling them it wasn't fair to put the entire blame on me when we were both involved. I remember thinking to myself, this kid is crazy because would willingly want to get in trouble. But it wasn't until a little while later that I realized it was just the kind of person he was. Very honest. He'd always credit his mother on that too. He's always given her credit on pretty much every single thing he's done. Even when I tried to involve him in my little shenanigans throughout the neighborhood, he'd always say, my mother would be upset by that. Next thing you know, he was lecturing and convincing me to not do anything stupid. And he always managed to talk me out of it. But I was always in awe of his relationship with his mother. And he truly loved his father too. He always shared the games, like the sports games and all the fun stuff you guys used to go to together. And based on the way he was, I genuinely believe he was blessed with real good parents, and they should forever be proud. He wasn't just a friend, he was like a brother, and wasn't afraid to knock some sense into me whenever I tried getting into trouble. And his words always somehow worked. I remember another time we argued and stopped talking for a while. He was out raking the leaves, and my mother was practically begging me to go out and rake our side too, and to fix whatever issues we had going on. She loved him too, like her own child, and it hurt her seeing us argue. I was a hard-headed child, so I obviously didn't say a word to him. We were on our own sides raking. But I remember just wanting to throw the rake away so bad and grab the nearest kickball to play with them. But I was still standing my imaginary ground. I'm so glad we fixed whatever we were even arguing about. Life is too short to hold silly grudges against anyone. Even when my family moved to Dubai, I spent every single night there thinking about how much I missed the old neighborhood with Hayden and everyone. Those 5 to 6 years I was his neighbor were truly the best of my life. And you can even ask my brother, there's never a trip we take to Burnsville where we don't drive by our old home for the nostalgia. And it was nice hearing from Hayden that he used to do the same too. We've talked a lot throughout the years, whether it's small updates or going through memory lane. Nothing will fill the void Hayden left behind. The last time I spoke to him was less than 2 weeks before his passing. And we were talking about the issues going on in the world, and he was just very upset by the lack of compassion in this world. He was always worried about protecting humanity, and his heart was so big. The world truly never deserved him. A few days before his passing, I wanted to send a Rubik's Cube solving video. By God's will, I held my fingers and never sent it. Those who knew him knew his fingers would literally fly solving them. when he had a natural talent. He had a natural talent at everything. I regret not sending it to him though, knowing that it could have led to one last conversation. Hayden, you were such an important part of my life. Whenever I think of my childhood, you're always the first person to come to mind. Nothing will ever describe the shock I felt at hearing the news of your passing. Nothing will describe how dissociated I've been from everything around me. I've known you for pretty much my whole life, and knowing you're not on the other side of a wall or a call away anymore will forever sting. Getting to prepare your body for your funeral has been one of the biggest honors of my life, and I'm so grateful. Your family and God gave me that chance as a way to say goodbye. You genuinely look so at peace, exactly how your mother described it. It's like a newborn. I will never know the pain that you've experienced in this world, but I know in my heart you're experiencing never-ending peace now with your Lord. Though I'd still instantly trade places with you in a heartbeat, because the world really could use your kind soul. Your passing has really helped me understand God's divine timing more. There's one thing everyone in this life is promised, and it's death. Even though it'll forever sting me to say it was your time to go. Although we didn't get to hang out one last time in this world due to our work schedules, I pray God reunites us in the highest levels of paradise, where we get to play football and kickball forever again. Just like how we were neighbors in this life, I hope we're also neighbors in the hereafter, where you also get to reunite with everyone you love. You and your family have been in my prayers every day for the past month, and you all will forever be in my prayers for the rest of my life. I'll forever miss your contagious laugh. He always had that little smirk, like that scandalous smirk. But how articulate your words were in your compassion. There's so much more I want to say and so much more stories I want to share, but then I'd be talking for hours. You truly be missed, my friend.
I was able to call Hayden my friend ever since I was 3 years old in preschool. And we just always got to hang out and grow up together, and we did Boy Scouts. We played sports together, we went to school together, and a couple of years ago, being able to spend time with him as a man, he would spend nights at my mother's, and he was such a great teacher. He taught me the Rubik's Cube, he taught me how to play better disc golf, and he was so patient and easy to talk to. Anytime I would talk to him, even if we hadn't seen each other in months, it would just be like right again, like nothing had passed. And some of my best memories are, even as grown men, being able to play the Wii together all night. And I remember he was so good at every game, he would always beat me, and it wasn't fair. But in Wii bowling, we stayed up all night trying to get to the master level. And he just kept doing perfect games and teaching me. And he was so patient always teaching me. Learning the Rubik's Cube, I wasn't an easy learner. I asked the same question over and over again, and he never got angry. He never got mad. He would just patiently explain again, even if I asked the same question over and over again. And I'll definitely miss him. I love him.
for a toddler, 3-pointer shot. It's like the wood, you know, it'd be like a 6-foot shot, I suppose, with that one Nerf ball of some sorts, but, and then chasing him in a really big backyard, and he was fast for a little toddler, I could really keep up with him. I am honored to have been able to be his teacher in Scouts, whether I was his leader or as a supportive father and on the side and handing him his badges, his belt loops, his anything he earned, his arrow of light he earned, and going on so many trips, camping trips, being able to sleep overnight on a submarine, and so many things we did together in Scouts. And then in baseball, maybe we started him too early. When we started him at like 4 in T-ball.
He was 3.
3? Oh, my.
He was so good.
I don't know if that was a blessing or if that was nice of us or mean of us to start him so early. But he was so good at everything. I could go on about all his skills and talents. His capacity to love. And how much he loved you too. He looked up to you too so much. He wanted to be, I think his athletics, he wanted to be like you. His academics, he wanted to be like you. He wanted to make the two of you so proud. And he did it, and I know he did, and I know that's what he wanted. He loved you two so much. And he was who he was because of you two. Not just because of mom and dad, but because of his big sister and brother. He loved you so much. And I'm so blessed to have been able to have all of our road trips together. We always played music. He always wanted to test me and quiz me if I knew every single band and make a good tell you to play. And I always would mix up turning sticks and air supply or something. And he was so upset. I'm gonna get this straight. I made a mixtape a long time ago. I'm all on there. I can't keep them straight. We always left them, but all the inside jokes too, you know, and that smirky everybody's brought up is sometimes inappropriate jokes, but the timing of them were just hilarious. We'd be on the floor laughing. He got really good at his dad jokes. I was really proud of him. His hugs or something. Yeah, he was good at disc golf. He was good at cubing. He was good so much, but his love and his hugs. To know that I will not see him again while I'm here hurts like heck. And I don't know how long it's going to take to heal from this. But at the same time, I'm doing the best to celebrate the life and the time we've had with him. And know that I'll see him again. And who has a heart picture like that? No matter what was happening in the family or anywhere, he always tried to maintain positive. And I know that he wasn't perfect. He had a lot going on in his life, and he hurt. But he always did his best to just keep it to himself, to just keep showing love. He loved everybody. This is what happens when your person comes up, you're not prepared. I ran Take everything that he's done for you, that you have, that he's done for you, with you, how he's touched your hearts, and do something with it. he loved helping those who were unable to help themselves, to take care of those who were unable to take care of themselves, especially children. He would take care of, like Elijah, you said he was so patient. He was so patient with children too. He was so patient with angry customers at the store. I've heard so many stories already how he was so patient with them. Others were getting frustrated, being yelled at, and he'd walk up and just be able to be so patient and calm with them and subdue any kind of fire and argument. I can't end this with conclusion except for ending it with the thing he hated the most is when it ... Thank you, everybody.
Until we meet again.
What's that? Yeah.
... Until we meet again.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak before I hop up? Alright, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to be wrapping up tonight. I'm going to say a couple words, and we'll end with a brief moment of silence. But walking in here tonight, I've had a lot of I think we've all had a lot of realizations and a lot of ways that his passing has impacted us, whether it be negatively or positively. But I've realized something being here tonight. There's so many of you that I haven't seen in over a decade. There's so many of you guys that familiar faces, but we're all lost souls in an aspect. We're all living our own lives, we're growing, and we disconnect, and it's part of life. And we come together, and there's so many empty promises. I'll be in touch, I'll be here, I'm gonna start hitting you up and start connecting, and while the genuine feeling is there, I think it's important to remember that life is here also. And I've realized another thing tonight, and that's we all have a different connection with Hayden. And as his brother, as his sister, parents, niece, aunt, uncle, friends, family, we all knew a different version of him. We all knew a different, some of us knew the same Hayden, but we talk about from a childhood. We talk about from a distanced brotherhood that I had with him. Growing up, I was a rebel child. I was out and about. I was sneaking out, and I was sharing with the family. They didn't even know it. Like when I was 16, Hayden had to have been 5 or 6. I had snuck out one night, and things were rough, and I was leaving the house, and he gave me the St. Peter bell, just to say, take this with you and be safe. It'll keep you safe. And this dude is 6 years old, you know, and so while it's important for all of us to recognize and cherish our connections we had with Hayden, it's also important for me to understand, I don't want to speak for you, but it's important for me to understand that I didn't know every side of him. I didn't know every aspect of him, and that's okay. I live my own life. There's people that I haven't seen in here that I haven't seen in 10 years. You guys don't know who I am, and that's okay. But we can all come together and use those memories not to establish I have more hurt or pain than anyone else, but use these memories, use these, if there's something I didn't know about Hayden, come tell me, come talk to me. And so I think it's important for all of us to remember that we all know a different version of him, and that we all have our own perspective on the way that he impacted us. Everyone, there's so many nice things that I can say about him, and there's so many things that we could all say about him. And it's ironic enough, when someone passes away, there's a lot of nice things that we could say about anyone. And I don't want to end tonight talking about the good things that my brother did for everyone, because we all know in our hearts. But I really think that he would really respect the fact that I want just to send a message to everyone that when you leave here, I feel like we wonder why the world is cruel to those who are most deserving. But I've realized that it's the most damaged souls that hold the most potential, and that it's the ones that are most hurt. If we're able to find a way to break through that barrier, there's so much peace and happiness and light, I promise you. And so I want you guys, we're human, and I trust, I've been hurting a lot. I've been mourning my brother, I miss him so much. But I will not let him die in vain. I will live for him. I will live for him, even when it's hard. I know, we all know that he was suffering and he had sickness. But I know in my heart how smart he was. And I know that he knew how much this would change things. And so I want you guys to please leave this room not so much so saddened by this void that's no longer here, but I want you guys to please leave figuring out what you're going to do to fill that void, what you're going to do to help someone else fill that void. I just have a quick, it's important for me, our stepfather wanted me to send just a quick brief statement, just a couple words that he had for Hayden. He's not able to be here. Taff, my mother's husband. So I just want to read these really quick. Just give me a moment here. So my apologies if I botched this a little bit, but when I first, this is words directly from Taff. So when I first met Hayden at the airport, he reached out to greet me with a huge hug. You could tell by how caring and courteous, witty, and intellectual he was at the same time. And this was the moment I knew he was someone special. He truly treasured alone time to learn, to grow, and to reflect and to enjoy. He was wise beyond his years. And as youth workers working with children that were tutoring or just helping children in this education system, I remember teaching him about how to engage with people, younger people to be exact. We start where the young person is at, and we don't start with ourselves. And that was a moment that Taff and Hayden had. Hayden had a huge realization where he straight up asked, so you're saying that if this is where we start, it's really all about them. And it was really just reiterating the fact that we were all young once. We were all 9 years, we were all 11 days old one time. And it does start then. It's when the older we grow, it gets harder and harder to change and break habits and to become a different person. And so this is what really hit home for him, was knowing the direct impact he would have on these kids, helping them become better versions of themselves. That's the point that they wanted to get across. He could relate to everyone regardless of age or status because it was never about him. It was about the person he was with. He'd be fully engaged 100% all of the time. His heart was pure, just like his mother, Victoria. His tongue was eloquent, even when he shared a dark joke here and there. I remember he took us disc golfing one day. The first time I tried it, it opened up my eyes to his patience and nurturing approach. I think there's so many of us that can relate to just how calm and patient he is. It's even seeing him upset. And this just brings me back. Like, we all have a different version of him that we've seen, that we know. And for me, like, if I ever saw Hayden, like, pissed off or upset, like, I didn't know about it, like, you know, for me, I'm the complete opposite. You're gonna know if I'm upset. The whole room's gonna know. So, it's, you know, he was so respectful in that manner where he didn't want to damage anyone else's peace. He was a gem, and he'd make any parent proud. Indeed, as a stepfather, I was proud of him, and I made sure that I told him, Hayden, you left us too soon, and I miss you. I'll embrace you once again, just like the first time, God willing, in the gardens of Eden, where there will be no struggle, just peace. Until then, with love, Taff. So, like I said, guys, thank you for being here. It's hearing these stories is so nice. And there's a part of me that, you know, this roller coaster of emotions going through. One moment I'm angry, one moment I'm pissed off, and another moment, you know, we're laughing and joking about his jokes. And, you know, I've made the joke, I'm still waiting for him to crawl out the grave and say, you've been punked, you know, like, I know that's how he is. I know it's not the time, but that's how Hayden really was. He really was like that. I'm gonna forever miss my brother, and I'm gonna forever think about him. But I will forever live for myself, and I will forever do what I can to take care of me. I come first, just like you come first, in everyone's book. So I really want to send that message tonight. As you guys leave and you mourn the loss of someone special, it's important that you take care of yourself. You mentioned about being a good person or a caring person and the differences. It's extremely important for you guys to show that love that Hayden showed to the world, but to yourself. That is not his message, that is my message to you. So, thank you guys so much for being here. I really genuinely appreciate it. And so, we're just gonna end tonight. I'm gonna do a quick moment of silence, and we'll all just, I guess, hang out, gather around in the lobby. So, if we could just bow our heads and just take a moment of silence. All right, thank you guys so much.